With excitement reaching a fever pitch for the opening of the Universal's Epic Universe, it seems like parent company Comcast is doing all it can to both prepare the park and guests for what to expect. From team member and media previews, to operational changes, adjustments to show and pass holder perks, parking considerations, and alterations to capacity limits, we're hearing that Universal Studios is sparing no expense and leaving no stone unturned when it comes to this truly epic theme park experience. But one implementation of a line management system, mainly associated with Disney, has seemingly every aspiring wizard and witch up in arms. Let's talk about Virtual Queue being activated at one of Epic Universe's signature attractions, Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry, here on That Park Place.
We've got our next story, and I need you guys to tell me what to think about this, because I actually do have questions. So in Britain, they have unusual rules about the way they do things, and sometimes American companies will try to copy those rules. And I need to know, is it good or bad that Universal Studios, Epic Universe, is putting virtual line details? Actually, let's go over here to Blog Mickey for this one. Harry Potter Battle at the Ministry ride now open at Epic Universe previews via virtual line, otherwise known as virtual queue, which I think it would actually be more appropriate, considering Britain, to call it virtual queue. But here we are. One, this is a sign that the ride is actually more open while it's in previews, but here we go. Team members and their invited family will now be able to preview the highly anticipated Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry attraction in Epic Universe. The ride has been closed until now for team member previews, with one exception being that it was open to invited media on a recent preview day. The attraction is said to be the best at Epic Universe, and preview attendees will now have a chance to ride the attraction via virtual line. Here's what we know. Okay, so it bothers me a little bit because I was under the impression that Monsters Unleashed was the best attraction in Orlando. But now I'm hearing that Battle for the Ministry is the best attraction in Orlando. This is unaccountable here.
Well, remember, it was the best until Battle at the Ministry opened officially, right? Because Monsters Unchained was open before Battle was, because Battle was going through some very big issues relating to the ride systems and ride vehicles and multiple vehicles on the track, which is probably why they're implementing a virtual queue the way they are. I have heard that this ride gets some pretty decent throughput if, in fact, you have all your vehicles on and operational at the same time. But apparently that's been quite the challenge for Universal Creative to get working correctly. I think they will eventually iron it out, but I am not surprised that they are implementing a virtual queue for this attraction, which, by the way, we are hearing that the actual line queue itself, at least the indoor line queue, has as much space to provide for, I believe, 6 hours of queue. So they understand that this is going to be a very popular attraction, but can they actually provide it?
I hate that so much. I cannot tell you how much I hate the idea that they have a 6-hour indoor line. Like, I get it. Okay. What are we at? A 360-minute queue? Like, no, thank you. No, thank you at all. So I get why they would do virtual queue on this, but wow, 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fine.
Which, I mean, if this gets 2,000 people per hour, which is kind of a rough estimate, I think it might actually provide for even more people than that. You're talking, what is that? Is that 8,000 people in line right there?
Yeah.
So standing for it. It's a very interesting idea. This apparently, I was just having this conversation with Jay on park hopping, and according to what he understands about what's going on here, I guess they're setting up for maybe a 50,000 people opening day for this park, which is unbelievably ambitious. I mean, I thought that this park would really top out at 35,000, and just based on the amount of experiences that they actually have, the amount of attractions that they have ongoing and so forth. 50,000. I mean, the parking lot doesn't even really support that. I think the max amount of cars that I saw, at least when I counted, yes, I hand counted it, folks, it was about 5,000. I don't know how you fit 50,000 people in this park, but And if you implement something like a virtual queue on this, I don't even know where 8,000 people are supposed to go. So this is very puzzling for me when watching Universal operations.
That is an amazing number of people. So originally, when I was bringing this up, I was going to bring up the virtual queue aspect, but I, when I look at something like this, and the queue is almost part of the attraction. Like I've heard more about the queue than I have about the attraction itself, and I think the attraction will be great and it'll be fine. I love the idea of going through the ministry here. I hope that there's an area where people can just go and not necessarily get on the ride and just take pictures inside the ministry with those green tiles there. Jim Scholl pointed out that he would love to have an ownership stake in the company that has to clean those tiles because there are so many of them, and the fact that there are offices up there which may have actors in them, or maybe there might be some I don't know what the word is, meeting rooms, places where people can look down that they aren't necessarily actors but are able to look down at what's going on in the queue down there. I would love to know who gets access to those rooms. The queue does look amazing. I don't like virtual queue, mostly because of a little bit of maybe post-traumatic stress from the way Disney handles virtual queue. They don't have a skip the line system that forces you to get virtual queue if you want to get into, like, okay, so the virtual lottery system, which is what Disney currently doesn't have on any of their rides. I'm sure they'll bring it back the next time they bring in another attraction here. Meant that you had to be
we're
up.
good through 2030 then. Calm down, Jonas.
That's probably true. You would have to get up at like 7 a.m. and there would be another opening at 1 or 2 p.m. in the afternoon, where if you didn't get into those, your only other option was to buy into Lightning Lane, basically the multi-pass level. And then you could try to get into the ride that one. So it was a pay to ride system. And I always get a little pushback on the idea of calling it a pay to ride system. But if Disney fully controls the number of people that are in the virtual queue and also offers you a payment option if you don't get in, I feel like that's it looks like pay to ride, and therefore it's just as bad, the kind of thing Disney would have avoided in the past. So when I see virtual queue or virtual line in this case, I have that guttural reaction of what is it? Ooh, brother, ooh, no. But it doesn't look like it is a pay to ride system in this case. It just looks like it is actual just virtual queue.
Yes, so this is kind of this follows, I think, Secret Life of Pets. I think when that attraction first opened at Universal Studios Hollywood, they implemented a virtual queue system. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, they didn't implement any other way to bypass that via a pay-to-ride system. You can see right here what we're talking about when it comes to the queue of Battle at the Ministry. This is by Thrill Geek right here that you're seeing. It's an amazing queue, and this is only actually a small portion of it, if you can actually believe that. It's pretty big, and I want a point of clarification. Yeah, sorry. So 6 hours at 2,000 is 12,000, not 8,000. So I just want to be clear there. I can definitely see if they have limited hourly capacity for this attraction for whatever reason. Maybe they can't get it up to speed because I know sometimes they just can't get up to those higher theoretical thresholds. I know they had big problems with Mario Kart, for example. I think that was supposed to be 1,500. I remember talking to a team member a couple of weeks after it opened, and they were saying that they couldn't get that over 1,000 for a while, which is really, really bad. And then like Intamin, for example, assured Universal they could provide a set capacity for Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get as many ride vehicles on the track as was originally anticipated. So sometimes, if you have limited throughput, you have to put those people somewhere. You have to provide an experience. Do you necessarily want people to wait for this 6, 7, 8 hours? That's not really great experience for everybody. But the question is where you put them. Go ahead, Culture.
No, it's just like you just outlined everything I was going to mention. For Hagrid's, they've actually extended the track and added additional maintenance bays so that they can try to get that thing up to speed. I mean, there's ways that they can make some adjustments to try to help, but I would expect operationally this thing not to be running at full speed until like 6 months to a year after it actually officially opens. They had similar issues with Tower of Terror. I mean, we can go back and just kind of talk about, what theoretical throughput, versus, optimal operational throughput can be. This attraction, I would say, will also lend itself to a lot of initial interruptions, which is another reason to have that queue. Especially can you imagine 6 hours in the sun outside, which is the whole reason why, Disney went with a virtual queue to begin with, the only attraction worth going on in Galaxy's Edge.
Which one is
Rise
that?
of Resistance.
Rise of the Resistance.
Yeah, because it's definitely not Smuggler's Run.
No. No. And that's the other problem, right? It's like Disney's idea of a theme park land is 2 attractions at most, one that's good and one that's quite garbage. And then like a couple of restaurants and, like a hand wave at some kind of a show. That's their idea. And ever since they adopted that, it's been very disappointing. You're not burying an area in attractions. You're providing, less and less every time you try to reiterate.
Right. The Monsters Inc. land comes to mind, where they have one ride, a sushi restaurant, and a attraction TBD, which is going to be a show that they're going to replace Muppet Vision with. It's just silly. So.
Yeah. But this looks amazing, and I will be one of the people sitting over you, watching the giant queue move slowly through.
I like to imagine you there with a green pinstripe suit with a cape and maybe a funny hat.
Yes,
with your arms crossed behind you.
Yes. I might actually wear that to the park one day, and
in the Florida Heat.
Yeah, why not? I don't care. I'm old.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media account.